Anita, how's your mental health?
Questionable at all times. You know this.
Yeah, how's the mental health of your children?
Also a little bit tricky. Can I tell you my experience in trying to find therapists for myself and my kids, Mel?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is how it goes. You ask around your friends and your family for a referral for somebody who's nearby. You finally find somebody who sounds like they might work for your family. You give them a call and you find out that A, they're not accepting new patients, or B, they have a huge wait list. So you start over again and you ask people if they know anybody who would be a good therapist and a good fit. Finally, you find one, you go and you meet with them and you figure out that you don't actually like them that much. But it's been so much work to find somebody who you can go to in your area that you're kind of stuck with them. Well, do you have any ideas for how to get around this?
I do, because guess what? I've actually had some therapists that I have found on my own, which involves what you're saying. Sometimes I remember one time I was like 3 hours in the bathtub on my phone looking through websites. I was such a prune at the end. But I have also had the experience with working with BetterHelp. And it was like, I don't want to say too good to be true, but because it is true, but it's like amazing because I was matched with my therapist within 24 hours.
And you didn't have to go through all of that other ridiculous process of trying to find somebody. And here's the cool thing too, is if that person didn't work out for you, you can just switch and say, and it's not like you're committing to another years long search for somebody who you're going to jive with.
It's true. And I lucked out, or maybe just BetterHelp is really good at matching people together because I never had to change my therapist. I loved her. Perfect fit for me. And I know that some of our friends have used BetterHelp and they've had to change therapists, and boom, same day, you can change.
Easy peasy.
You can ghost your therapist. Get a new one.
I love this idea. BetterHelp is one of our sponsors. If you use our promo code trybetterhelp.com/WWDN, you get 10% off your first month. And we totally recommend it.
Yes. Get some therapy. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. Welcome to this episode of Widows in Cars.
There's like a whole Netflix series about comedians in cars. Why can't there be a series about widows in cars?
Well, look, there is now, and you're in a car.
I'm recording in my car right now. If the audio is weird, so sorry.
It's all good. Are you sweaty yet?
It is so hot in here. And Mel, guess what?
What?
We came to this family friend's cabin, and there's an infestation of, are you ready? Ladybugs.
Isn't that like a good sign, though? Aren't ladybugs lucky or like mean something about death?
I don't know, but I have never seen, like thousands of ladybugs, and they're like coming out of the walls and the light fixtures. It's crazy.
Oh, Anita, I just Googled, what does seeing a ladybug mean after death? Are you ready?
What?
I quote from the Google. It is a sign that it is time to move on and forgive yourself and others so that you can start to create new memories based on how things are now. It also may be a sign that you have lost your connection with your inner child and are taking things in your life too seriously.
Well, that we know isn't true.
Also, it's meant to bring good luck, abundance, and protection to all who encounter them. I think the ladybug infestation is a good sign.
Well, whether it's good or not, it's insane, and we've sucked up a lot of ladybugs in the vacuum.
Were they all alive?
Yes! I'm not joking, Mel. Thousands of ladybugs.
Oh my gosh.
I have never seen something so wild in my entire life. How are you doing?
I'm good. I have to say, I don't have any ladybugs around me. I'm kind of bummed out about that, but I do have dogs.
Well,
so there's that.
There's that. Do the dogs climb in your hair? Because I keep having ladybugs in my hair.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they sit on my face. They fart.
Gross.
They scratch. They lick. They do all sorts of things.
They're dogs. That's what they're supposed to do.
And then they love me.
Oh.
Well, how has your week been? Again, we're not recording this on Sunday so that you're in a better mood.
Yeah, it's. I don't even know what happened this week. Stuff probably happened.
We rode bikes.
We did?
No, I rode my bike alone.
Oh, I'm like, I don't even remember that.
Crap.
The fall colors are amazing right now. They're so pretty. I don't know why or how, but they just really are gorgeous. And so I am just drinking that in because they don't last very long.
It's true. It is a beautiful time of
bummer.
year. It's kind of nice here in the old Utah.
Yep. And Jason always used to say that fall was the time for love. So that's a bummer.
Well, because you love me.
That's true. That's true. And you get to start wearing like long sleeves and sweaters and all of that kind of stuff. I'm not into pumpkin spice though. Are you into pumpkin spice?
I'm on keto. There's no pumpkin spice here.
Okay.
Because, like, what would I have pie? I mean, I could figure it out, but I'm not addicted to pumpkin spice. But, like, I could have a pumpkin spice something or other and be like, that was fine. But now
Okay.
I've had enough till next year.
So you're neutral pumpkin spice.
Yeah, it's like normal.
People are like mad about it, like crazy. Not mad, like angry. Like, yeah. And I'm just like, I don't know. I like pumpkin pie, but I don't know about pumpkin spice.
I have been really good about making little goals and working down a list this week.
Yes, good job.
Part of it's because I have to, because we have Camp Widow coming up, and so we better be organized, and I have some stuff that I need to get done for that. But I also just officially finished my life coaching program, and I'm mid-semester in a social work program, which I have not talked about at all to anybody other than you and like my 5 people in my life. So I'm doing pretty good on my grades. I'm noticing that even with my broken brain, I'm learning how to jump through the hoops in a way that works for me. So
I feel like your brain has a lot of browser tabs open. You're like, I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this. Mm-hmm. And you need a list to keep that all straight.
I took a picture of the list that I made with boxes next to them, and I had 4 separate categories, and I sent it to my mom because I was like, I just am so proud of myself for making this list. And then I looked back at it later. I was like, that's a lot. Maybe you should tone it down.
Yeah.
But you gotta like follow it while you have the energy and the brain power, right? That's my thing. It's like, then all of a sudden, who knows when the wave is gonna come and I'll be out for 3 weeks. So
Yeah, that's true. So we did goals a couple weeks ago with my daughter and my sons. They were like, one of them wanted to be able to make his hand into a shark by like putting his fingers together, kind of like shadow puppets. And I was like, okay, that's an interesting goal. And my daughter wrote like 30,000 goals. She was like, I'm going to meditate for 30 minutes every day. I'm going to wake up at 5:30. I'm going to have all my homework done before I've even been given my homework. I'm going to, and I was like, maybe just like one goal that's manageable. Because then she was like, I haven't met any of my goals. And I'm like, well, I don't know why.
well, yeah, it's kind of a nice season right now. I'm feeling pretty decent. You're feeling pretty decent?
Yep.
For the most part?
I am coming up on my anniversary, which is going to happen at Camp Widow. So that should be interesting.
Ooh.
It's the day we present, actually.
What? Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yep. And you're coming up upon your death anniversary soon. So we'll see how it goes.
Wait, I just remembered. I had a breakthrough this week.
Oh.
For some reason, I started sort of caring about my health, and I made a doctor's appointment, and I went.
You did?
And then I looked back on that, and I thought, oh, this feels kind of normal, kind of like my life before. And it helped me to be able to see that I have indeed made a little bit of progress.
Guess what I did, Mel?
What?
I made an appointment to have my first mammogram.
Ew, you're so old. I'm just kidding. No offense to anybody that is old or
not old, but
not
you're
old.
just calling
You're not
us
old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that should be fun.
Tell me everything about it.
I
don't
will.
think I care enough yet to go do that, but I'll live through you right now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, good job, Mel. I'm glad that you care about yourself and you went to the doctor.
Yeah.
High five.
Oh, hear ye. The Zoom hangs are upon us October 9th, which is Saturday. And we are having 2 times, as usual, noon, Mountain Daylight Time. So keep your eyes peeled for the Zoom links in the Widow Wives Club, in the newsletter that we send out. And those are facilitated by our friend and widow, Autumn Barker, who is a clinical mental health counselor. She facilitates the group. It's not therapy, but it is a group that is designed to build community and help us with different various aspects of grief. And maybe you just are going to talk about roller skates, which, by the way, I bought roller skates today.
You did.
Mm-hmm. Amy, I hope you're listening.
Brand new pair of roller skates.
Yes.
You got the brand new key. That's awesome. Okay, if you want to keep our podcast going, then we invite you to join our Patreon. It's patreon.com/WWDN. This is where you do a monthly pledge. We have 4 different tiers. They start at $5, which is less than a pumpkin spice latte.
At Starbucks.
So you can do it. Forgo 1 pumpkin spice this fall. And if you want to do a one-time donation to send us to go get tacos, you can do that at
buymeacoffee.com/widow-we-do-now.
One of the benefits of being a Patreon at a certain tier is that we give you a shout out. So we're going to do that right now. So for our first shout out, we are shouting out our secret dead husband. And to her, we say,
I've got a brand new pair of widow skates.
you've got the brand new key. Next, we'll go on to
Constance Dahlbeck. We just learned how to say it.
better. David Kelly,
John Satterwhite.
Gail Paxton,
Ivan the Misner.
Kat,
Krista Waite, our widow goddaughter.
Amy,
Avi Sapp.
Ashley Hahn,
Christina Shiflett.
Danielle Catterberg,
Not a Debbie Downer.
Dennis Brazo,
Jenny the Taylor.
Jennifer Brown,
Jenny Wang.
Kathy Murray,
Spooky Scary Stromberg.
Leslie Webb,
Missy Schubert.
Rachel Barbosa,
Whoop. Sarah Morris.
Sylvia Shore, my mother-in-law,
Yes. The White House Karen.
Vicky, the widow of Kirchhoff,
Anna Tracy.
Christina Scambato,
Christine Anderson.
Cindy Raynaud,
Mindy Holmgren.
Dawn Barber,
Debbie Fells.
Diana Becker,
Emily Thornton.
Emily Toledo,
Aaron Posick.
Gabe Lozano,
Ileana Bell.
Jackie,
And then my mother-in-law, Anita's mom,
I love it, Jenny Barrow,
Jocelyn Milo.
Joy Kirsch, the fancy lady,
Julie Stevenson, welcome.
oh, Karina Jacobo,
Katie Radcliffe.
Kara Scara,
Lori Farrington.
Magic Marie Hoffman,
She's our aunt. She's our widow auntie. Marjorie Lewis.
Mary McGowan,
Peter Rukavina.
Sarah Kennedy,
Shannon Helm.
Sunshine, Haven.
It's okay that you don't like cheese.
We only like you just a little bit less.
But listen, I love pizza as much as I like tacos, so it's okay. You can stay.
Pizza too. Okay.
Yum, pizza. Okay, Tammy Schwartz.
Tara Wallace.
Valerie banged up from a car accident. Packer.
Oh.
I know.
Oh. Okay, and last but not least, we have Polypropylene Wendy.
Wow.
That's a
You should
kind of
call her
plastic.
You should call her Ladybug Wendy.
Oh, yeah, actually, Ladybug Wendy. I don't know, I kind of like polypropylene.
How about a polypropylene Ladybug Wendy?
Yes, perfect. Thank you for everybody who supports us on our Patreon. We are really humbled and appreciative of you and your support.
Remember, we are in the beginning phases of facilitating in-person Widow Wives Club hangs. So we're still working on getting that up on our site. If you're interested in facilitating in your area, please email us at widowwedonow@gmail.com. And for those that have reached out, thank you for your patience while we get that up on the site. We are so excited for what's to come.
Sometimes we assume that unless we had a huge life insurance payout, we don't really need to know anything about investments or even finances. But guess what? A little knowledge of finances is critical for all of us. Maybe your partner was in charge of that stuff, and now you find yourself making all the decisions. Maybe you're mad about that. Maybe I am. Nicole from the He's Gone But the Money's Not podcast is here to help. She tackles financial literacy by telling the stories of women and widows and finance experts and shares the lessons they've learned as certified financial planners. Whether you know a lot and feel confident in your financial decisions or feel unsure about all of that stuff, there is more to learn. Listen and subscribe to the He's Gone But the Money's Not podcast on all podcast platforms. This ad was paid for by Rockhouse Financial, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Yay! Okay, should we get to our episode?
Yes, this dude is pretty awesome.
I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
And by the way, Robert Bowles, who only likes to listen to widowers, this one's for you. We're two young widows. And we're trying to help you figure out
Widow
we do now.
No! I feel like we're teaching little kids singing when we do it that way. It's
You have
pretty
to
funny.
do like the...
Yeah. Widow we do know. Widow we do know. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Anita.
Tell us who we is talking to today's.
So I actually have not spoken with this next guest until recently, but I know of him through our friend of the podcast and my personal friend, therapist Christy Nauman, who's been on here before. And she introduced us to this guest because he is a therapist and unfortunately is a widower. So he's our people.
Boo,
and
hiss,
I know.
sad.
She's like, you have to talk to him. He's rad. He's awesome. And he's doing a lot of cool things and also totally gets it. And we, of course, love to talk to people who are going through what we are, as well as have the therapeutic element in their life because it's so different. So
It's like a 2-for-1 bonus episode.
actually a 3-for-1 because he's a widower.
I know.
And we know that widowers are less likely to speak about their experience. So we really appreciate this next guest being here. Please, everybody, welcome, drumroll, Jason Clawson. Welcome, Jason.
Thanks for coming.
What kind of therapist are you? Are you an LMFT?
I'm a CMHC.
Like Autumn.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
I wish
So-
there was an LMFAO. You could be certified in that.
That's what you are.
Yeah, those are the letters behind my name. Mean nothing.
All right, Jason, how long have you been a therapist?
I think I'm going on about 15 years as a therapist.
That answered my question.
Yep.
Anita, you can go home. Go take a nap.
Yep.
I got it from here.
You're done for the night.
Thank you.
And how long have you been a widower?
So it's 2.5 years that my sweet Valerie has passed away. So fairly new to this club, but it's been about 2.5 years.
We would love to hear your story about you and Valerie. So will you tell us how you guys met and share a little bit about your life together?
Sure, absolutely. So in Utah terms, I was a little bit later to the game in getting married. So I was about 29 when I started talking to Valerie's brother-in-law. His name's Brad. And we started hanging out. And Brad says, you know what? When my sister gets home from her mission, you need to date her. And no pressure. So I was like, okay, whatever. Whenever's convenient, I will meet your sister and I will consider it. So as time went on, we ended up meeting at a Halloween party. And it was like this supposed to be this magical moment, but it was like, you're Brad's sister. Oh, you're Brad's friend. And we just said, oh, nice to meet you. And then we went our separate ways. And that was our introduction to each other. So it wasn't this magical moment that we were supposed to ride out into the sunset right away. It was, oh, we met and that was it. So that was a kind of a funny moment for our first introduction. And really nothing really transpired until probably about a year later than when we met up at a church building and we began to talk and I realized how cool she was. And I really wanted to take her out on a date. So I said, Valerie, how about we go do something sometime? And she goes, yeah, let me ask my brother and let's get a bunch of friends and we'll go hang out. And I stopped her and I said, Valerie, I don't want to hang out with your brother. I hang out with your brother all the time. I want to hang out with you. And she said, oh. And so we made a date. And before I was home, she was calling me and says, you know what, I'm not going to be able to make our date. Sorry, but I had something else planned. And she remembers getting off the phone and feeling bad that this would get back to her brother. So she felt bad and it stewed for a couple days. And she ended up calling me and says, I feel really bad about canceling. So we need to go out on a date. So we ended up doing a lunch date. And I think that's when the magic moment started, when she got to know me and I got to know her at lunch and we began to get to know each other. And that's when we started dating. And we dated probably about 6 months before we thought we were cool enough to date each other and ended up marrying. So about 6 months later, we decided to get married. And we were married. I guess we've been married for about 15 years. And it was awesome. Life was good. We got married a little bit later. We wanted to have kids right away. So we ended up getting pregnant right away, which was a huge blessing. And Boston, he's our oldest, and he came no problem. So we ended up getting pregnant. We ended up buying a house shortly after. So again, we thought our life was really going well, and we were living what we thought was a really good life, and we felt like we were blessed, and nothing could stop us at that point. So we're really happy. We felt like things were going good at that moment in our life. So that's kind of how our introduction happened and the start of our life. And I felt like the beginning was so good. And as you hear more of my story, you can hear the challenges that came our way and all the things that we've had to go through that have made us stronger through this process.
I feel like you just set us up. You're like, this was the good old days until...
We're like on a good episode of Dateline right now. You know the storytelling.
I got you guys on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Okay, so what happened next, Jason?
So I'm glad you asked, Mel. We felt like we wanted to grow our family. And so we went back to the drawing board and began to pray about having our family. And we knew we needed to have more kids in our life. So we tried to have kids. We didn't get pregnant like the first child. And we kept trying and trying and trying. And we realized how hard this process was. And so we went to the doctor and talked to the doctor. And we found out that we had some complications that prevented us from getting pregnant. And we were thinking, what? It was so easy last time. Why is this so complicated? So we found out that we had to do things a little bit different in getting pregnant. So we had to go the in vitro route to be able to get pregnant. So that was not very good news for us, but we were willing to invest our money and our efforts into bringing our next child here. So we attempted to get pregnant, and we went through that process. And again, we got pregnant through Cooper. And we always say that Cooper was made by love and science. So Cooper, again, was a blessing, came into our lives, but we had to go through the process of in vitro to be able to bring him here. So again, that was a blessing. We felt like life was good again. And we had 2 boys, and we were back to life is good and life is happening again. And that's how life was.
So what's the age gap between your first and your second child?
Great question. It's 6 years. 6 years and 6 years and 2 days. So and just by that you can see we tried for years to get pregnant, and then finally our blessing of Cooper coming into our lives. I think this is where life began to change. As I look back, for the best, but also for the worst for us. And I think this is where our first challenge in our life began to come our way. So we tried to get pregnant again. And finally, we said, we're going to do this. We have 2 eggs left. We are going to put the eggs in, and we're going to pray for the best. So we put 2 eggs in, and we got pregnant. One of them took, so we got pregnant, and we were super excited about this and looking forward to having another kid into our lives. And then we got into a follow-up visit with the doctor, and we started doing some scans. And we quickly found out that our baby had some challenges. And in that appointment, the technician didn't tell us about these, but recommended us going to the hospital to go see I can't even remember.
Peri-neonatologist?
Probably, yeah. So we went and we had some scans done. And then I remember going back into his office, and sitting down, and he says, you know what, I have some really bad news for you guys. And I at that point, I wasn't ready for bad news, but I was hopeful about what he would tell us. He says, your baby's unique. It has something called anencephaly. And what that is the skull isn't fully developed, and the brain develops outside of the brain. And I couldn't get the words out fast enough. I said, well, what are our options? We're gonna fight this. We're gonna do something, and we're gonna defy all the odds. And he says, sorry, Jason, it doesn't work like that. And that broke my heart, because I wanted another child into my life. And he said, here's your options. You can choose to have the baby early. They'll be born and the baby won't make it. And then he can say, you can have your baby all the way through full term, but the risks are your wife's going to get septic. And then with this condition, the baby gets born and it never makes it. It doesn't end well. So he tells us these 2 scenarios, and you choose which one's going to be the hardest. And
he gives you the worst option and the worst option, and tells you to choose between the worst and the worst.
Yeah, and anybody that's had that laid out before him, it today, it was probably one of the hardest decisions that we've ever made. And it's like, we're choosing life. We're choosing our baby that we're supposed to have in our life. So we go home for a couple of days, and that was the worst couple of days of my life. And we finally made the decision, we need to have the baby born early, because I was worried about my wife and about her health. So week 18, we went to the hospital, we had a C-section, and we had the baby born. And that was a special moment for me and my wife. And it was a spiritual experience, because my father-in-law, my dad were there, but we held this baby that had passed away, and we had our special moment with that baby. But you know what? After leaving the hospital that day, it was so difficult and hard. We became emotionally connected to this baby, even though the baby wasn't alive. And that was really hard, that we were not supposed to have this. We're supposed to have a family. We're supposed to have more kids. So leaving the hospital, I don't think we said a word. We just cried on the way home. And then I remember how hard life was after that hard decision. Like, it didn't get better. It was the hardest thing that me and Valerie had to deal with up into our lives. And it was so difficult. And we just said, what are we supposed to do with life now? And you could see the hardest thing about going through stuff like this and being a widower and is you go through a hard traumatic event, and then you look around and you see people being happy, and you see people still living life, people posting Facebook pages about, hey, we're pregnant or we have a baby. And that's where I would get angry and upset and say, this isn't fair. Like, why do I have to do this? Why do me and Valerie that wanted a baby so bad have to go through this? So I had to work through that, and through some help and some coaching from some friends, I had to get through that anger, and we had to figure out how to pick up the pieces and how to live our life again with this traumatic event that has happened in our life. And that's for people that have to go through hard things. That's a hard process to say, I have to move on with my life. I have to continue on. But that's what we did. It was super hard. And then when people would come up and ask about our baby and we'd have to tell them the results, it was like, I don't want to have to tell people again what's happening. So the sting of that decision just weighed on us for a while. And it was still hard to go to work, and it was still hard to go to be around people in the neighborhood and at church. It was just still hard because there in my world, there's constant reminders of people, about families and about kids and about happy things. So for me, I was just angry and upset at the world because my life was different than what I anticipated and planned.
That's totally understandable. I mean, I think anybody
100%.
listening will relate to those feelings of anger, and then feeling guilty about feeling angry, and then feeling angry about feeling angry, and then feeling, all of those feelings. And then, it's just rough because you don't want to feel angry at people that you love, just because they're living their life. So,
yep.
It's always interesting to meet people that are not unfamiliar with grief before becoming a widow or a widower. So will you tell us a little bit, whatever you're comfortable with, about the process of you and Valerie grieving?
Mel, no one's really asked me that question. So I appreciate you asking me that. And I really have to think about that because when you have to grieving a child is so much different than grieving a spouse, and grieving a child that you made a decision like you did is so hard. So for me, I think grieving was bringing what I had with my wife and my kids and begin to celebrate life together. And I think one thing that has helped us in grieving the process of losing someone is we've kept the memory of a life to our baby Hugh, and we still celebrate his birthday, and we still honor him because he's still a part of our family. And what I've learned through the grieving process is rather than embracing for impact, when people don't do anything about celebrating their life, and they just sit and wait for those days to come, I say it's like bracing for impact, embracing for this day to get over. What we've done is we've celebrated life for Hugh, and that allows us to still keep him alive in our life, and he's still a part of our family. And even still, my boys reference Hugh. Hugh would have loved this, or Hugh would have done this, or Hugh would have been this age. And it keeps his spirit alive. And that helps us grieve through the process rather than grieving someone that never was a part of our life, but he was. He transformed and he changed our life. So being able to celebrate his life and let off balloons on his birthday and write messages on the balloons and let him go is so therapeutic and healing. And I think part of this is we didn't know, we just did it. And what I've learned through the grieving process is that is so therapeutic, and it allows our emotions to continue to flow rather than holding on to those emotions and just let them build over time. So I still get emotional when I talk about my son. I still get emotional when I have to relive that experience of being in the hospital and choosing to have my baby early. And that's part of the process. And what's hard, and I listened to one of your podcasts about males sharing their emotions and feelings. For me is, and for other males, you need to do that, or else it's just going to continue to build, and we're going to throw on a mask and try to protect our masculinity and not be able to let our emotions process the way that they need to.
What if the word masculinity came from the word mask? That was just like my brain just exploded, you guys.
Yeah, it probably did.
I loved what you just said about bracing for impact as far as big days. And in my brain, this is the visual that I thought of. So if you've ever been on a treadmill
Yeah.
and you turn the treadmill on and it's running before you get on, right? You get on and then it flings you off of the back of it.
Uh-huh.
But if you start running and then you turn on the treadmill, then you're able to kind of keep up with that day. And that's the idea that I had in my mind, is as opposed to waiting for the treadmill to start and it, and it hits you and it flings you off of the back. If you're already getting up to speed or kind of planning and, what's the right word that I want to say? Leaning into the day.
Yeah.
Then the treadmill doesn't hit you, but you hit the ground running, so to speak.
Absolutely.
So that's a really interesting thought. I haven't ever thought of it that way.
Well, I've been in a lot of therapy sessions where I'm just sitting here helping, coaching people, waiting for that day to come. And it is painful to watch people because they don't know what to do. And it's going to suck. And it's going to be so painful when that day comes. And I just sat there and just watched them go through the pain. And I remember when I had Valerie die, I'm like, I'm not waiting for that day. I'm embracing this and I'm going to celebrate life. And that thought and process has helped me work through my grief and my healing process when it came to losing Valerie. And that's just been part of my process and my healing part with my boys.
I have a question from your therapist angle. As you're in the sessions and you're there to help facilitate healing or whatever is best for your client, is it appropriate to share your personal experience if it helps them? Like, how do you have that balance as a therapist that's also gone through the stuff?
That's a tough one because there's a thing in therapy called self-disclosure, and you don't want to make it a session where you're doing all the sharing and your client is doing the therapy. But so how I've approached it is I've approached it where if it has the ability to help a client and be able to connect and help teach a principle, that's where I found I can share different parts of my story that helps them through the process. And for me, I don't share all the details to my story in a therapy session. I share enough just to help that client get through a tough moment and to be able to help them understand I can feel your emotion and I can have empathy for you. So it doesn't happen all the time, but what I found is since I've gone through these grieving moments and losing people, it comes up quite a bit, and it becomes such a healing moment for me to share some of those moments and describe what I've gone through. And it unlocks the clients where they're stuck in some of those moments and gives them permission to move forward in their life, because I was willing to share moments of my process. And again, I don't share all the details. I share enough to be able to help them get through and, like I said, unlock the emotion that they're stuck in.
Can we transition to hearing about what happened to Valerie?
Absolutely. So as we got through this, losing our baby, we had to pick up the pieces and just start fighting back and just start living our life again. And one thing that Valerie's pointed out is that the death of Hugh gave Valerie permission to look at her health and to get things back on track. She struggled with her weight for so long, and she finally began to get serious about losing weight. She had done everything to lose weight. And finally, as we looked into insurance, we found out that insurance would pay for weight loss surgery. And we are like, yes, this is going to be awesome. And so what Valerie did is she transformed the grieving process into helping herself get healthy. So she got healthy. She did the surgery. She followed all the recommendations. She went to her last appointment in August, and she'd lost 100 pounds, and she was feeling so good and feeling the healthiest that she's ever had. And she was so happy And at that point in our lives, guys, is we felt like we have fought back and things were going as good as they have ever gone. So Valerie lost 100 pounds. We were building a house. My boys were thriving in sports. I was the clinical director at a recovery program. I was like, yeah, I'm rocking it. And there were some other responsibilities that been asked to me because I was doing well. And that was for us, again, I think this is like my theme. It's like that was the happiest moment. And we're just like, this life's good. We worked our butts off. We worked through our grief to be able to get where we are. And life began to change, guys. So Valerie came to me about a month later and she goes, Jay, I have this lump in my abdomen. I don't know what it is. Can you come feel it? So I went over and I felt it. And I said, could this be from the weight loss surgery? Could this be scar tissue? And she goes, I don't know. And I remember saying, okay, let's wait a week and we'll go from there.
Wait, you didn't say, let's Google the heck out of this.
I didn't dare. I was hopeful and making sure that what it was something that we could work through and we could just go see a doctor and we could get through it. So a week later, I felt the same mass in her stomach and it had grown. And that's where fear, and I said, oh no, what do we do now? So we went to the doctor. We went to our primary care physician. The doctor actually said, are you pregnant? And because he didn't see any signs or anything that gave us any indication that it was something that was concerning, but he ordered us to go and do a test, do a scan. So we CT scan. And then we went to our OBGYN to look at the scan. And we looked at the scan and she says, you know what, Valerie, I need to call a professional and I need to get a second opinion. Go do what you need to do and I will call you. So I remember going to the movie, I think it was Bigfoot, Littlefoot. The
Land Before Time?
No, it wasn't that.
It was 1991.
Yeah.
Listen, there are like 13 of those now.
It was 2014.
But right before the movie, the doctor called and she goes, I'm sorry, Valerie, this is awful news. It looks really bad. But she couldn't tell us exactly what it was. She says, there's spots all over your body, and I want to get you into a professional to be able to figure this out together. So we went and saw an oncologist, surgeon, and we began to do blood work and more tests. But she couldn't tell us exactly if it was concerning or cancer at that point. And we're just on hold. Our life is on hold. Like, what do we do? Like, we have this large mass, we have kids, we have life going. How do we just put life on hold? So we found ourselves up at the St. Mark's Hospital having exploratory surgery and trying to figure this out. So she went in, she had a partial hysterectomy, and they opened her up, and the doctor found this large mass next to her colon. And doctor closed it up and then came and talked to us. And for those that have gone through traumatic events, those moments get time stamped into our head. And it's like taking a picture and we remember every little detail from those moments. So the doctor looked at me and said, Jay, I'm sorry. She has stage 4 colon cancer. It doesn't look good. Oh, man. And that moment with my sister, Valerie's best friend, my in-laws, it just broke our heart because of what we've been through and how hard we fought to get back. And now our life has been turned upside down because they said you have stage 4 colon cancer. So we just were stunned and we didn't know what to do. And so that's when we started Googling and looking. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, how's life going to change? What are we going to do? Treatment. And your mind just goes a million miles a minute. So we went back to the room where Valerie was, and the doctor came in to talk to us. And I couldn't wait to talk to the doctor and just pick the doctor's brain. So as soon as the doctor left after talking to us, I was out in the hall, and I was peppering the doctor with so many questions about what are our treatments, how long does she have, and I was just trying to get as much information as I could. And then the doctor paused me, and she said something so significant in my process that at the time made me so angry, but now it's been a healing process. She says, Jason, cancer has a way of enhancing your life. And I just wanted to fire back and say, I don't want to be enhanced. I don't want my life to be enhanced. That's not what I want. I want my wife to be healthy and happy. And she goes, I know, I get that. And this will be hard for you. And for the longest time, I was resentful and angry at that doctor for saying that. And through all the pain and things that I had to go through, I was like, this isn't enhancing my life. This is complicating my life. And I don't want this. I just want to be a dad, and I just want to help people, and I just want to be back to my normal life. But I really quickly understand that's just not the way life was going to go.
So when they did the surgery, they didn't even try to take out the tumor because it was so big?
Yeah.
So I see so many parallels in what happened with your baby and what happened with her. Like you're revving to go. You're like, let's go. Let's do what we got to do. We're going to make it happen. We're going to beat the odds. And both times they were kind of like, guess what? Nope.
Yep. You're absolutely right. I wanted to fight it, but you know what? From that point forward, we just did everything we could to be able to fight it. I mean, in that point, and anybody that's been diagnosed, especially those have been diagnosed at stage 4, you're just going to say, hey, we're going to do the best we can. So we followed every recommendation. We followed every scan. We did research. My mother-in-law was up half the night looking for some kind of relief or treatment to help improve. And the hardest thing about this process, you guys, is we did everything. We prayed. We were positive people. And we felt because I'm a therapist and I help so many people, and my wife is so giving, that would give us a fighting chance of switching things around. But every scan that we went to, it didn't change. Nothing got better. And we were thinking, like, why? Like, nothing we could do would change the outcome. And that was the most frustrating part. So we were told 2.5 to 3 years. And through this process, we got to 9 months and Valerie passed away. So we fought it for 9 months. And then finally, we ended up at my in-laws' house, and she was on hospice. And it was interesting because she got a chance to get closure to a lot of people and ask for forgiveness with things she's done in her life and say goodbyes and cheer people on. And she was actually comforting people that were there. So she was doing the total opposite of what people were doing to her. And then that 9 months, September 12th, is when she passed away. And that's when life began to get really hard. And life doesn't really get hard until everybody leaves from the funeral. And then you find yourself lonely. That's when you need the most support and help. You just say, what is going on? And you start to wake up from all the people that have left and are not there anymore. And that's when life got really hard.
And now you are a solo parent. And so you not only have your own grief, but you have the grief of your children.
It sucks.
Like, what the heck? Yeah, you guys might have some really great discussion here because you were in a similar boat.
Yeah, it's hard. It is hard to be parent of grieving children and to be grieving yourself and to be dealing with the day-to-day and to do all of the things. It's just not fair.
And to be a therapist.
Yeah, and that.
So to go back, I think now that I look back, I went back 8 days later, so I didn't take a lot of time.
8 days?
Yeah. So I don't recommend that to anybody. But
was that your choice? Did you think that was a good idea at the time, or was it like situational?
My boss called and says, "We need you." I'm barely surviving, so I felt a little bad. And then I think part of me is the Mel mentality, where I'm just gonna put my mask on and I'm just gonna put my head down and go to work and just try to get through this and just try to just bury my pain from helping people and just working. And that's what I did. And I just began to just grind it out. But the hardest thing is going through your own grief, and then you hear people sharing about their worst experiences of their life. And a funny side note is I remember hearing students share things, and I said, "Oh yeah, that sucks." But you want to hear something else that sucks. That's probably not the right approach. But in those moments, I was just like, come on, let's work. Let's get some things done rather than just complaining about life. I'll share you something that I have to complain about. So, but you know what? The hardest thing is trying to raise 2 boys and work and be a therapist and try to be optimistic and try to get through. But one thing that has kept me going is those 2 little boys. I knew I had to show up for my boys. And I knew I had to keep fighting because I wanted to teach them, and I wanted them to be able to know how to get through a hard experience and still be able to be happy and healthy. But you guys, it took me a while. It didn't come overnight. It was a struggle for me to learn this and struggle through.
Do therapists have their own therapists?
They should. Everyone,
Okay.
Everyone should. And at that point, when I went back, I was recommended to go see a therapist. So I found a therapist, and it was healing to be able to talk about what I was going through. But the hard thing is not all therapists are good. And especially those that you're going through the grieving process. You got to find someone that you connect with. Someone that gets you, and someone that is trained to be able to help you through the grieving process. Because if you go in there and they don't know, it can keep you stuck, and it can delay your grieving process. So take a look at the therapist, and don't just go to a therapist just because someone recommend. You almost have to interview the therapist and see if it works for you. And I would say it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to figure out if the therapist is going to work for you. If not, fire your therapist, go find someone that's going to help you, because this is your life and this is you getting better and not just delaying your process.
You mentioned earlier that grieving Hugh was different than grieving Valerie and this process. Will you talk to us a little bit about comparing the two, even though I know they're totally different, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, the hard thing is I got to build a relationship with Valerie. So I was emotionally, physically, and connected to her. So I was grieving a lot of those aspects of her life. And then I was also grieving all the things that I didn't have that enhanced my life. So I didn't have my person that was inviting people into my life, that was connecting me to everybody else. So I was grieving all those things that I had to make up the difference. And I had to lean into that discomfort a lot. So that made my grieving so much more painful and amplified, because all of a sudden I'm this single dad trying to do things, trying to go to social events, show up to school functions, do all these things that my wife did for me. And now I had to do that. And And that brought up a lot of memories for my wife. So every time I'd go and do that, I thought of Valerie and what I was missing. So I couldn't go to an event, a social event, a family event without thinking about her, because I I didn't imagine life without my spouse, and that was really hard. And when I had to feel uncomfortable at a family party or a school function, those are the moments that I just dreaded, and I still dread to this day. So I miss my partner that made me whole. Hugh had a different significance. I miss someone that I could hold on to and someone that I could build a relationship with or play baseball with or do those moments. And I was missing the things that I was looking forward to do rather than missing the things that I was doing on a regular basis.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So we talk about that even in the widow sphere. You know, if you haven't been married for very long, then you grieve what didn't happen that you wished you could have experienced. And if you have been married for a long time, then you're grieving for the things that you did do and now have changed and are different. So it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Have people maybe not recognized you as you need to be recognized as a widower? Are people sensitive to your situation and maybe like, well, yeah, now he's, quote, single, doesn't mean necessarily he's not grieving. Like, what's that aspect been like for you as a widower?
I think people that I have a relationship with help support me and understand that perspective. But I think people that don't know me very well, they're not very sensitive to my situation. So, I mean, I hate to say this, but at church, I feel super awkward and don't feel sensitive. I sit by myself and just it's hard enough to go to church and it's hard enough to just be by myself. So it's a constant reminder of how alone I am. So, and I think people don't do a very good job of understanding that and maybe going and sitting next to those people and getting to know them and ask questions what it's like, which I would appreciate them seeking to understand me so that they can understand what I'm going through. And I feel like if I don't have a relationship or people don't actively reach out to me and talk to me, they'll never know and they'll be insensitive to the situations. And what's hard is some people will say, what can I do for you? Or how can I help you? And then they'll just leave it at that. And what I learned, if the people don't care about me and don't stick around and keep asking the questions, the right questions, I will just give them the right answer of what they want to hear. And then they'll be on their way and then I won't have to deal with them. But if it's someone that just keeps pushing and asking me and stay with me, then I will give them permission to open up my heart and become vulnerable and tell them exactly how I feel, because they're worth the investment in my heart and my vulnerability and my pain. If you keep asking me and you spend enough time saying, no, Jason, how do you really feel? And that is, I feel that doesn't happen enough. And if you're listening and please ask people, please stick with them. Don't just say, is there anything I can do for you? Just stick with them and continue to ask about them and take an investment in their life.
That was wisdom that we just heard, you guys. Straight up wisdom. It's like when people ask for things from you, there is a calculation in your mind. How much is it worth me opening up to them?
Yep.
And most of the time it's not worth it because you know that they don't actually care, you know? I mean, they care, but they don't like deeply care. It's more of a social thing.
I think also through this process is for widowers, I think there's a sense you need to be vulnerable too. And you need to be able to reach out and talk to people. I think as I talked about putting on my mask and going through my pain and just grinding it out. And it was like the anniversary of my wife was about to come up and I was a little bit nervous and scared of how I would embrace that. And I remember feeling overwhelmed, feeling I wasn't doing okay. And I remember I got to do something or else I'm going to fall apart. So I remember leaving work on a lunch break, and I remember sending out a text to 12 of my closest friends, neighbors, people in my church group, um, family. And I said, hey, I'm not doing okay. I need you to meet me at my house, and I need your help and support through what I'm going through. And I remember what a powerful moment this was, because I showed up. It was, well, one, it was a relief to send that text and go, all right, I'm done. It's out there. I can't look back. And then I showed up to my house, and 12 people came to my house. And if you've ever seen the show Intervention, I called my own intervention, and I sat in my living room and I began to open up and be vulnerable about how I felt and what was going on. And in that moment, they began to tell me what they were observing and seeing in my kids. And together, this was so healing. Together, we came up with what we should do, how to support me, what can help relieve some of the pain and all the things that I was carrying. And for a single dad, that was so healing for me. And I remember my little dad was just taking notes about everybody's assignment. And I was just like, this is what I need. This is what everybody needs. So from that, I made a hard decision that changed my life forever. Through that intervention, I decided to quit my job as a therapist. So I put in my 3-week notice, and I said, you know what? My kids need me. I need to refigure my life out, and I need to take care of my family. So I quit my job, and I began to go on this journey with my boys to be able to help us for the better. And shortly after, I remember sitting down with my boys, and we carved out a bucket list of things that we wanted to accomplish together as a family. Because what we were living up until this point, we were living on sad and traumatic memories that wasn't sustainable. And it was painful. Life was painful because that's all we could remember. So we created this bucket list, and we began to make some happy memories together. And it was so healing for me and my boys. And what was amazing is we invited people to be a part of this process. So we listed all these things, and I threw it out on Facebook, and it was amazing. My community and my tribe came and they did them with me, and they began to ask me the questions in those moments. How are you doing, Jay? We love and care about you. And I began to tell them what I needed. And this began just a healing process of the things we did. And we people always ask, what'd you do? We went on a private plane ride. and as we circled our neighborhood, our community had spray painted a heart on the field, and they held up signs that we love the Clawsons. We went fishing together. We planted trees in Valerie's honor in my backyard with our neighbors. So it was something that we look forward to. And I gave my son the task of creating a YouTube channel. So he was in charge of filming and putting these together so that we could share them with people. And our journey became everybody's journey to be able to help people.
What's your YouTube channel's name? Muy important.
The Bucket List Healers.
That's cute. Have you finished your bucket list, or is this still an ongoing list? And is it a list that will ever be finished?
It still needs some work. There's some things that are on there. And the reason for that is because on the bucket list, one of the goals was to make a lemonade stand and raise money to give 2 sunshine baskets to people that were struggling. Because when we were going through this process, someone came over and delivered a sunshine basket, and it was such a happy moment for my family. and we were able to laugh and enjoy life despite all the crazy things we were going through. So the lemonade stand we created, and I was like, let's just make $100 and that'll be enough to make 2 baskets and we'll go deliver them. Guys, I pulled up my Venmo and I counted all the money. And when that thing was over, we had $1,500.
What?
And I was like, oh no, what just happened? What are we going to do with all this money? And
more baskets.
And that's what happened, you guys. That's what has transformed our life forever, because of that lemonade stand, we weren't able to finish the bucket list. We've been on this mission to be able to deliver these sunshine baskets to people that are have lost a spouse, people that have struggled with cancer, and it's kind of taken on a personality of its own. So what I did with that $1,500, because I'm not that creative, I reached out to our youth group, our girls' youth group, and I said, hey, I have this money and this is what I want. Can you help me out? Can you make it look pretty and look? So I feel good about delivering these. They created 25 baskets and I went and picked them up, and they sat in my house for a little bit. And I was like, what am I going to do? But I activated in my brain looking for people that needed these sunshine baskets. And guys, they started calling. And I remember driving to Spanish Fork, our very first basket. I was driving down to Spanish Fork with my boys, with this basket, with my friend who, her cousin had just lost their spouse in a construction accident where they were in a trench and the dirt had caved in. And I was going into this home, not knowing them and going, what am I doing? We really didn't know what we were doing, but I remember showing up and I remember saying a little prayer. You know what? This is about giving back, and this is what Valerie would want. So we went into the home and we shared our stories with this sweet widow that just lost her husband and her kids. And we gave them this basket, and the tears began to pour down their face, and they said, thank you. And we began to talk to them about who Valerie was and what she meant to us and how we were able to keep her spirit alive by doing these baskets. And in that moment, it gave that widower hope. She's like, I want to do something like this. I want to keep my husband's spirit alive. And I remember leaving that moment, and I just was overwhelmed with emotions. And I said, that was one of the most powerful experiences of my life, to be able to give and to be able to teach them about my wife. My wife is still alive in me, and I was able to give them hope. And my boys were able to share how they're doing. And we gave this family hope. And I drove back and I says, I'm on a mission. I need to do more of this, and I need to help people by giving sunshine baskets to people, because I want people to have this experience, and I want people to have hope in their hard circumstances of life. So me and my boys have been on a mission to be able to help people. And there's been multiple experiences of people reaching out and saying, I have a friend, I want to go deliver a basket. And we said, let's go. And we go into the home and we share our story. They get to ask questions to us, and we get to help them through the process. And how amazing it is.
That's amazing. So how long has it been? I mean, you've kind of formally created this Sunshine Baskets. I don't know if you'd call it group. I mean, project. Concept. And do you, how does it work? Do you accept donations? Do you deliver baskets just in your immediate area? Do you ship them other places? How do people get involved? All of the questions.
Wow, that's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we raise money by donations, and that's what's been funding this mostly. I've been chipping in money from me because I feel how it's important. But I've been able to get donations and people that have supported our cause. that we take the money, and all the money that we raise, we put back into putting together these buckets. And it's amazing once I've thrown that out and people have seen what we've been doing, how many people step up and help us out and continue to donate. I saw a need because I saw people out of state that were saying, wow, I wish I could have a sunshine basket. I wish someone would come talk to me. And I said, you know what? There's a need out there. People need sunshine baskets. So I designed a box, a sunshine box, that we put together a sunshine bucket, and we have been shipping them out to people throughout the United States, and it's amazing for them to get a sunshine basket. They learn about the story of my wife, and it gives them hope. And again, I'm on this mission. I just posted this. I want to send one to 50 states.
Yeah.
I'm borderline crazy because I want to do this. But
how many states have you already shipped to?
We have 10 states, and I have 2 boxes.
So you need 40 left?
Yes.
Okay.
Y'all, everybody listening.
We got to help Jason.
We got to help Jason. What 10 states do you have already? And then we can know what you need. Utah, obviously.
We have Utah, California, Arizona, Florida, Virginia, Ohio, Illinois, Tennessee, Texas. I'm missing one other. Oh, but I
was impressed you could pull those out.
What about Idaho?
I don't have Idaho.
What?
I have Alabama and Missouri sitting in my car waiting to go over to the post office to send it out. The need is so great, and I'm on a mission to be able to help so many people. So providing this for as many people as we can. We're not there yet, but we're trying to get there so that we can provide sunshine to a lot of different people. And my friend that I've teamed up with, he has struggled with suicide and depression, and we're working on putting together a forget-me-not basket and a suicide or a mental health basket to deliver to more people that are struggling right now because of the way the world is and how many people are struggling. We want to be able to be the people that help people be happier and healthier again. So that's in the works. It's just we're not there, but I'm excited that we're moving in that direction.
Okay, but one thing that you can definitely use is donations. So how do people donate if they want to help somebody else get a basket? So
what we've been doing is on our Facebook page, which is Giving Sunshine, you can go on and add to our community. We also have a private group that you can go in and post stuff and ask for help and suggestions and support. And people just been private messaging us and saying, hey, I have a friend that I think would be amazing for a sunshine basket. So they private message us on the Facebook page, and we do the best we can to put these together and ship them out. But they've been, as quickly as they come in, we try to get them out. So the way that we've been raising money is it's not the best, but it's what we have is through my Venmo page, and all the donations that I get, 100% goes back, maybe 110% because of my money, go to putting these baskets together to ship them out. Because again, this helps me and my healing, my boys that go and share their stories. And it is so amazing to hear my boys talk to other kids and to encourage them that they can get through this, even though they have lost a spouse. And that just warms my heart to see my boys do that. And for me, it's like, I'm doing the right things when I see my boys be able to do that and be able to help other families.
Earlier in our interview, you mentioned 3 things. You said, when Valerie was sick, you were thinking, I just want to be a dad. I just want to help people. and I just want my life to go back to normal. And you are being a dad, super dad. You are helping people even more than you were before. And I know that number 3, your life is not back to normal and it never will be, but I just want to commend you and thank you so much for all those who have lost their normal, including you, for what you're doing for them and helping them to be able to know that they can keep going. So thank you from 2 widows who know a little bit about what it's like. And from our audience, I know that they will have loved listening to your story. And anybody interested in helping Jason with sunshine baskets, we can link to his Facebook page and you can go from there and maybe get in his private group. And we have one last question before we wrap up. Anita, would you like to ask it this time?
I would love the honor. This is the most important question, Jason. What is your favorite cheese?
I wasn't expecting that at all.
You're like, is it going to be a grief question?
Nope.
No.
Way to break the ice.
You're welcome. Do you like cheese?
I do.
Okay.
I would probably have to go with pepper jack.
Pepper jack. Okay. It's a solid
nice.
choice. We accept your
Thank you for
favorite.
embracing that.
Hey, I like easy cheese, so you're
Mel likes all the cheese, all of them. Jason, thank you so much for being with us, for sharing your story, and for what you're doing with the sunshine baskets and paying it forward, and even not even paying it forward, paying it first. I don't know, just being a good person. We really appreciate all of your wisdom that you have given to us and our listeners. We hope the listeners have enjoyed it as well. Remember to check out the Patreon, patreon.com/WWDN. Keep the podcast going. You can buy us a taco at
buymeacoffee.com/widow-we-do-now.
Check out the Widow Wives Club on Facebook. Answer all the questions. Come be a part of our community. And until we get to talk to you again, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
I'm Jason.
Yes! And we're just 2 young widows and 1 widower who's doing 2 of the 3 things on his list, but crushing it, all of it. And we're just trying to figure out, widow we do now.
This is my favorite thing to discuss with you.
Tell me, what is it?
One of my favorite things. I do enjoy tacos and cheese and dogs. This is about how you cannot pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a phone plan, especially when you're a widow, your person is dead, you might have kids, you might need another option, and you just want your phone to work, you want unlimited texting and service, and you want it to be like $25 a month.
It blows my mind that they have plans that start at $15 a month. That is so cheap. And the cool thing is it uses other 5G networks, and so you don't have to pay extra for that, and you still get great service.
Yep, Anita and I have traveled all over, and I have used my phone. So I highly recommend it, and my mom's even on it. When my dad died, we put his phone down to the cheapest plan, which is $15 a month. And I think my mom's on the $20 a month plan, and it's so worth it. It's so much cheaper than what we were all paying before. So I highly recommend it if you're on a budget or not. Who cares? Ryan Reynolds is in charge of the company, and they send you free stickers with Ryan Reynolds temporary tattoos. It's kind of the best. So if somebody wants to sign up, what can they do, Anita?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. Seriously, you guys, such a great idea. Save yourself some money.
And if you're worried about losing data or having any changes with your phone, not going to happen. They walk you through it. Everything's fine. It's the easiest process of all time. Again, that's
trymintmobile.com/WWDN.